first guest tonight is an Academy Award-winning writer and director whose films include *Inglourious Basterds*, *Kill Bill*, and *Pulp Fiction*. His book, *Cinema Speculation*, is on sale now. Please welcome back to the show, Quentin Tarantino, everybody. Welcome back.
Good to be back.
This is a wonderful book because it is both a collection of film criticism about movies that are important to you, but it also has this great personal element about you falling in love with movies as a kid. And a lot of the movies were introduced to you at an age inappropriate time.
Well, inappropriate is a fluid term, depending on who they're talking about. But the movies were not intended for children.
Yes, I guess that's a good way to say it, yeah.
They were not intended for children. And the thing is, they were also... It's the very beginning of the 70s. So movies have exploded because of the ratings board. Movies have, just actually so the audience knows, part of the thing is before the ratings board came out, there was the Hays Code, but the other thing about before the ratings code is if you made a touchy movie, be it sexuality or violence or any kind of thing like that, you could be sued by any sheriff in a jerkwater county who said you broke their county's obscenity laws.
Right.
So the ratings board, once they came about, that became the law of the land. So consequently, movies just kind of exploded when it came to graphic subject matter, like I said, either sexuality, violence, or disturbing.
Do you remember the first disturbing thing you saw that made an impact on you?
I saw there was a movie about Isadora Duncan that was directed by the British director Carl Rise, called Isadora, and it starred Vanessa Redgrave playing Isadora Duncan. So the ending is she's in the back of a roadster, and she's wearing this long, flowing scarf that's just hanging down, and they're driving around. I think she even has a champagne glass in her hand. And then the scarf gets caught in the wheel of the roadster and strangles her to death.
And this was not a movie where there was any sense that this was going to be the ending. Not a horror film at all.
No, not at all. In fact, I'm sure that one of the reasons it made such an impression is I was so thoroughly bored by the movie up until that moment, until that happened. All right, like, and so on the ride home, my parents are driving me home, so I'm just full of questions about dying by your scarf getting caught in the wheels of a car. And it's like this major concern. All of a sudden, I'm so afraid of this. And my mom says, Quentin, you have nothing to worry about. I would never, ever, under any circumstances, let you wear a long, flowing scarf in a convertible roadster.
Now, I feel like less with movies, more with comedies. My parents introduced me to things that my peers had not been introduced to.
Well, that makes sense, actually.
And then the teachers, though, maybe they catch on to this, right? Were you sort of the person that disseminated these adult films and their plots to your classmates?
No, there was this aspect. Usually one other kid that was allowed to see the contraband stuff.
Yeah.
There was this thing where I'd go see a movie, and then I'd go back to school and like spill the goods on this wild contraband stuff. And usually the kids, not always, because I saw a lot of stuff, but oftentimes they even knew what the movie was because they showed TV spots.
Yeah, so
all
they
day
know
long.
the trailer, right?
Yeah, one of the better times as far as that was concerned was my mother. Again, this is like the 70s. They used to have things like this. All of a sudden, out of the blue, they would have United Artists, not just like one theater. United Artists would, citywide, do a big release of 3 Woody Allen movies. And so it was Bananas, and Everything You Always Want to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask, and Sleeper. And so and my mom wasn't even a Woody Allen fan. And so I asked her, could we go, like on a school night, no less? And she goes, yeah. I can't believe she said yes, but she said yes. I'm like, it's the 3 Woody Allen movies, and she doesn't like Woody Allen. All right? That was really nice of her.
She's sounds lovely.
She's really cool. All right? And so we go to the movie, and then there's, and everything, again, imagining a child
Yeah.
watching this. You're watching everything you always want to know about sex, but we're afraid to ask. And there's the monster movie parody about the giant boob.
Yep.
That's, going across, the
Like the
countryside.
Blob. Yeah.
But it's just it's a big boob, a big tit.
Yeah.
all right? And it squirts milk, no less.
Yep.
Well, you can imagine how I'm regaling the kids at school. I saw a movie that had a giant boob. And it drowned people with milk. In fact, I think the line was the cream slowed him down and the milk killed him.
One of the great things is you write about movies, and not only do you write about this is my take on the movie, this is what I loved about it, but you also sometimes have a lot of knowledge of how the movie was made, choices that were casting, and who the director was, and who the script was. Did you find it was difficult to figure out how to combine those two things, both your personal taste and your personal experience of knowing about the backstory?
Well, that was actually one of the fun things about writing the book. It was a thing that made it similar to me writing fiction, where the thing about it is with fiction, I have a really good idea about where I'm going to go with some of this stuff, but at some point, I want the characters to take it from me.
Yeah.
And start writing some of this stuff itself, so I'm actually almost like dictating it. And to some degree, when I got into my own arguments with myself on the page, that started happening. But then one of the things was, I hadn't thought that I would I wouldn't call what I do journalism, but I didn't think I was going to have that much backing up, other than my own general knowledge of how a movie was made. But then, I'm doing the Getaway chapter, and I go, well, I'm actually friends with Walter Hill, and he wrote the script. He was there for everything. Let me give him a call. And I give him a call, and he's a wealth of information. Not only is he's a terrific writer, he's proud of the movie, but he's a great raconteur, and he was there. He was there for every moment of it. And so he tells me this amazing story that I didn't even really know. And then I was able to back that up with this, and he's the one that said, why don't you give Steve McQueen's ex-wife, Neil McQueen, a call? You don't really know how important she was to McQueen's success. And so I give her a call, and she's this amazing raconteur and has a fantastic memory and tells me all this stuff. And so it was one of those situations where if I didn't just have a point, i.e., my own relationship with the movie, or if I didn't want to just do analysis, I knew that was another way to get in.
Yeah.
Whereas to just go through like a verbal history, an oral history of how the movie was made.
It's really, every sort of section of the book has this really nice dimension to it because of that. I'm wondering, as you write film criticism, what is your relationship to the way people write about your films? Like, even when people don't like things I've done, I always do appreciate when they take the time to sort of drill down. Is that how you feel about critics? Like, do you like reading reviews of your work?
Oh, yeah, no, I read them all. I read them all. Look, I really know my movie really well, all right? So there were a case that somebody could shine a light on me that I couldn't see on my own. They might not like it.
Yeah.
They might not appreciate what I'm doing, but at the end of the day, and this is an easy thing to say, but truly, most of the time, well, I didn't really make the movie for those people.
Right.
I made it for somebody else.
Yeah.
But also, I've made movies where I've had fans that give good reviews of my movies, and they don't like this one. Well, that doesn't mean they're right either. But also, it can just also not be for you. But it's less of a situation of, oh, hey, they're going to tell me something about myself I don't know. That can happen, and that has happened. But it's more, oh, this is the conversation that's happening about the movie. And that's kind of important because there really only is a conversation about the movie when it comes out.
Yep.
After that, all those newspapers are in bird cages and no one remembers anything. And the perception of the industry, of the fans, of everybody is kind of set. Now, it can change, but usually over the course of time. But the conversation about the movie, good, bad, or indifferent, is what's important.
I think it's really special that you wrote this book, that for the people who are going to take the time to read this, is going to start conversations about these movies that I think otherwise, for this generation, would forget. And so that's a cool thing you did that, and it's great to see you as always. Thanks so much for being here,
my pleasure, man. My pleasure.
Quentin Tarantino, Cinema Speculation is out now. We'll be right back with Emily Ratajkowski.